So my name is Robert van Geijn. I'm a professor of computer science at the University of Texas here. And I have a rather large research group that deals with the cutting edge of linear algebra, which made it natural to try to do one of these massive open online courses where we focus on not just linear algebra, but also how it relates to the implementation of such algorithms in practice.
This is your first time teaching an edX course, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so have you taught online courses before?
No, this was a first.
Okay.
And we were not ready.
So why did you decide to do edX?
Well, for a long time, my wife and I, who was one of the instructors for the course, had wanted to create a linear algebra course targeting bright high school students. There are always those students in high school who run out of math to do. You may have been one yourself. And we had tried to get NSF money to do this, but the problem is that NSF wants to fund the study of such courses as opposed to the creation of the course. And so then you end up with a chicken and egg problem.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to create the materials so that it then could be studied. So then at some point, the University of Texas system came along and indicated that they were willing to put some money on the line to create a massive open online course, which of course in our mind really meant that there was an opportunity to create the coursework which could then be retargeted in multiple ways. So the edX course came into existence as a result, but our primary incentive was that it was an opportunity to create the course.
So what do you think are the pros and cons of an online course or a blended course in comparison to a traditional class?
So let's talk about that separately. Okay? Our experience as far as the online course is concerned is that it's a great resource for a relatively mature audience that often already has a degree or more, who are lifelong learners, who use the materials to either pick up some subject that they need for work or for graduate school or for college, or who just do this for the enjoyment of being a lifelong learner. So that audience, I think, is served very well by online materials like a MOOC. As far as blended is concerned, again, I think the jury is out. I think I don't think we can draw conclusions from the materials that we had, simply because they weren't mature enough at the moment that we tried to use them in a blended or a flipped classroom. And again, I think that a lot of students in college think that they want a traditional classroom because it allows them to show up to class relatively unprepared and then make up for the fact that they're not very well prepared by cramming for an exam. I think that in practice, at the very least, students in college need to be exposed to an online course so that they can learn to become a lifelong learner, and that's a good skill for them to learn. And it's possible that some courses can actually be taught that way. But the fact is, you come to college to have that direct interaction with faculty as well, and that's extremely important in your college education as well. So there's no way, I believe, that a majority or even a substantial fraction of your classes should be online classes. That I think is a very bad idea.
I guess going off of that, like a traditional classroom, you don't think that it helps students to become more motivated when they can come to class and have more interaction with their teachers?
Well, that all depends on what you call a traditional classroom. I think that from what we noticed from the MOOC, it's very much the case that people need a community to be part of. Now, why do I say that about our MOOC? We kept the materials up after the class was over, but we saw a huge drop in actual participation. So it was very clear that once the actual course online was over, people stopped having the motivation to participate because they weren't on a schedule, etc. And it's certainly the case that a traditional classroom provides that. However, I think that providing an opportunity to interact with your classmates, which is what really happens in a flipped classroom or in a hybrid classroom, is at least as important as being part of a class where you sit there and you learn to you listen to the instructor. Okay, the risk of just showing up for class and listening to the instructor is that you get this idea that somehow knowledge is passed down from some higher being to the teacher, and then the teacher discloses it to you. And as a matter of fact, you're only there really to appreciate how smart your instructor really is. Okay, that's the risk. And inherently, I think, in flipping the classroom especially, the incentive to actually become more hands-on and actually to learn that you can learn from each other and from materials independently, I think becomes much more obvious. And I think that's why it's important to have some of those courses as part of the mix, although I'm not advocating that all courses should be like that. Okay?
Okay. So how many students have currently registered for your course this upcoming spring?
Upcoming spring, we're at a little over 3,000.
Wow, okay.
Well, that's wow, but actually at this point in the game, last fall we were probably at 15,000.
Okay.
But you have to understand that registering, what does that really mean? I mean, last fall there were relatively few MOOCs offered.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, a lot of people who just wanted to see what this might look like registered just to have a quick peek with no intention of actually ever taking the course. So the possibility that the ones who are registering now are more serious is definitely there. Because now there are hundreds of MOOCs where they can go and have a peek and then not follow through, right?
Right. Okay, so do you think more universities will begin to use edX or online courses, move that way instead of traditional classrooms? I think you kind of answered it a little bit earlier.
I think I answered that, and I
Yeah.
think the answer is I sure hope not.
Right.
I really think that using them to provide flexible alternatives to a small subset of students is a good idea.
Right.
Using them to educate the masses is a horrendous idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if that's the direction we're going towards, I think we're in big trouble. Now, this could change. It could be that already in high school, students are prepared to become independent learners,
Right.
and that therefore they come into college much more mature than what we observe a typical freshman arrives with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's possible that then these MOOCs become a smorgasbord where people just take what they feel like, or they use it to supplement courses that they take, etc., etc. And that, of course, would be wonderful. But I don't think we'll ever get there.
But that's graduate level. Don't let us scare you too much.